My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today we're going to be talking about what's going on in the MatSu Valley. This continues to be one of the most interesting markets to be watching, not to mention the largest markets in the entire Alaska area. So we're going to be looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. Before we get started, though, do make sure you get this video liked, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's go ahead and jump into today's market update, looking first at the residential. Now, the first thing that we see is that the number of properties available in the MatSu Valley, which, to the great relief of a lot of buyers out there, is actually starting to go up a little bit. This time last year, there was about 257 homes that were available. Now there's about right around 330 homes that are available. So not a huge jump, but the fact that we're seeing the trend, and this has happened 2 months in a row, so we're starting to see more properties go on the market than what was available the year before. I'm not seeing signs of this suddenly just making this a buyer's market by any stretch of the imagination. It would have to be a lot more for that to happen. But this is a good trend, and it is promising moving forward, and a sign that we're starting to get more into a bit more of a balanced market than what it's been the past couple of years, because that pace that we were in before was not healthy long term for a market. Now, the next thing that we see is that the total number of homes that sold in the market for the month of December, which is the month we have the most current data for, went from about 222 homes for the month of December to about 105 the next year. So we see approximately a 50% cut from what we saw the year before for the number of homes that have actually sold. That's a pretty steep cut. We have seen a decrease for the number of homes that are actually selling compared to the year before, partly due to the fact that you can't have such a small inventory for such a long amount of time and not have it catch up in a couple of years, which is definitely where we're at right now. We've gone a couple of years with the inventory being so stinking low. Of course, it's going to show up in our number of properties that have actually sold eventually, and the interest rates going up has definitely had an impact and started to draw back the demand that we've had on the real estate inventory. Now, the total number of properties that have actually sold in the MatSu Valley, it was approximately 2,400 homes for the entire month or entire year of 2021. For 2022, the total number of homes that sold was about 2,100. So it hasn't been as much of a dip as what you've seen in the Eagle River and the Anchorage market, but nonetheless, you are starting to see kind of a drawing back of the demand on homes here in the MatSu Valley. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who have been watching for a little bit, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, and the purpose of that podcast is really tell the stories of people who have recently moved up here to Alaska or those who've lived up here for a long time. So if you're thinking about making a move up here, that might be a great place to start, so you can kind of start seeing what other people have done to accomplish what it is that you're wanting to do. So link for that is going to be in the description section down below. We've got tons of episodes on there, so jump in there, go treat yourself. And without further ado, I'll let you go ahead and get back into today's market update. Now, the next thing we're seeing is the average sold price went from about $348,000 the year before, year to date, to about $383,000, which is approximately a 10% increase year over year. Now, that is pretty aggressive. That's doing pretty good. This time last year, it was about a 15.5% increase. So, like we said, this is just more of a sign that things are starting to pull back a little bit, and things are starting to cool off a little bit. That doesn't mean that we're going to be in a buyer's market anytime soon from what we're seeing, but it is a sign that the market is starting to balance out, and it's not this crazy free-for-all like what it's been the past couple of years. Condos are not really that big of a part of the market here in the MatSu Valley, just because people don't usually move to the MatSu Valley because they want to go live in a condo. But it is a part of the market, so we're going to cover it anyway. This time last year, there was about 4 condos that were available on the market. Now there are 5. So there you go. If you've been looking to jump into condos in the MatSu Valley, here's your moment. The next thing we see is that the total number of condos that sold in December was 7 this time last year. This year, it was 6. So starting to see a little bit of a drawback there. Now, looking at the entire year for condos, there were 72 total that sold in the MatSu Valley for 2021. And looking at 2022, the total was 39. So approximately half of the condos that sold last year compared to the year before that. And That's a pretty steep drop off. You have kind of a smaller sample size, so it's hard to make any direct comparisons to that. And I think what it might be is we just have some newer condos possibly being built that are going to need to catch up, or the people who have been trying to sell their condos for a while, saw that the getting was good in the past couple of years and got rid of them. And now the people who are in them are probably not going to be going anywhere anytime soon just because the interest rates were so good the past couple of years. That's just some theories I have. We'll see if the evidence actually bears that out. Now, let's go and take a break real quick here. For those who've been watching for a little bit, you do know that I cover the South Central Alaska area. So looking at the MatSu Valley and Anchorage, I also have colleagues that are in every other major market across the entire state, going all the way from Fairbanks, Kenai, Homer, Kodiak Island, Juneau, all the big places across the entire state. And if you are considering purchasing or selling something in one of those areas, certainly feel free to reach out to me down below. I'd be more than happy to get you in contact with one of my colleagues in those markets, and they do actually collaborate with me and have their market updates on this channel as well. So if you're considering one of those areas, do make sure you go check those market updates out as well. Now let's go and finish up today's market update looking at the multifamily market. Now this is pretty interesting. So yeah, let's dive into these numbers. Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is what's going on in the multifamily. And in the multifamily, really since March, we've seen this slow and steady increase in the number of inventory that we've had on the market compared to the year before. Back in March, I think it was like 20 the year before, and then there was suddenly 25. Not a big deal. Going all the way up to the current date, where in the month of December this time last year, it was 18, and now there's 43. So you see, obviously, this huge increase for the number of multifamily properties that are available, and it's hasn't quite, well, here's the interesting thing. It looks like it's really been steady across the board for really since September. It's been 43, 43, 46, and then 43 properties that are available again. So it's almost like the baseline has just gone back up to not really pre-pandemic levels. I mean, it's kind of getting there. Pre-pandemic levels would have been something much closer to like 65, 70, even 85 properties that are available. So we're still not anywhere near where we were at that time, pre-pandemic, but this is definitely a sector of the market that we're seeing a faster increase of the inventory year over year than what we've seen in the other markets and the other asset classes. Next, the total number of multifamily properties that have closed went from 9 the year before to 1 for the month of December, reported just a little bit ago. Now, the total number of properties that have closed for the entire year went from about 150 the year before to about 117 for this past entire year in 2022. So across the board, what that means is there's just more multifamily properties available. There's less demand because even though rents are going up, interest rates went up too, which does mean that it does start putting a damper on how much you can actually get for a property. If you are a landlord, just because rents go up does not necessarily always mean that you're going to be able to get the top dollar amount that someone was able to get back when interest rates were lower, because it's all based off of numbers, and that interest rate really does play a big factor into it for a lot of people. Not everybody. If you're using all cash, great. I'm going to tip my hat to you. Well done, sir. Well done, ma'am. For the rest of us commoners, interest rates are going to be a pretty big deal. Now, for those of you who are looking to buy or sell on the residential side, as buyers, this is what I would say. Congratulations, you're no longer having to deal with all these crazy competitive situations like we had a couple of years ago. So that's nice. Interest rates are going to be higher, though. Okay, so you're going to pay the piper one way or the other. And thinking we're going to wait for something different. Well, what's going to be different is prices are going to continue to rise in the interim, and that means your rent is going to be going up, and there's no real guarantee that the interest rates are going to be coming down anytime soon. If it's me, what I would prefer to do is get something and lock in like that cost of living, that housing, get that locked in, because I know that's going to be the biggest line item on my budget, and get that locked in. Obviously, find something you can afford and make sure that it's no more than about 25-30% of your take-home pay. You want to be going towards your housing, and you need to preferably adjust the budget accordingly if you possibly can to make sure that you're not digging yourself into a hole. But if during a time of inflation, I feel much better having an asset that I know is proven to be able to keep track with what's going on with the inflation really across the entire board, because real estate as an asset does a much better job at keeping pace with inflation than really any other asset class out there. Now, if you're a seller, just know that this is not the market that your neighbors were able to sell their property in. You're still probably going to be able to get about what they asked for. You're not going to be able to do it in the spectacular fashion they were able to, where they had multiple offers and buyers were waiving a bunch of inspections and crazy stuff like that. That's not likely to happen anytime in the near future. And as far as the pricing would go, I'd say probably it'd be a better idea to price a little bit more on the aggressive side. That's not to say create a fire sale, but also you just don't want to be on the market for too long, because you definitely have some frustrated buyers out there. And if they see an opportunity to take their frustrations out on a seller whose house has been on the market for 2 or 3 months, then chances are they probably will, and they're not going to play nice, because no one's really played nice with them for the past couple of years. So I sure hope this has been useful. If you have questions, do feel free to reach out to me on my website or my Facebook page, or Instagram for that matter, and in the description section down below. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.